You can go ahead.
Okay. Call to order the regular board meeting of the Governing Board of Trustees of Romoland School District is called to order at 5:30 p.m. Roll call, Mr. Reller,
Here.
Mr. Sperry, Mr. Sperry,
Here.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Here.
Mr. Gary,
Here.
and myself is here. Nikki, do we have any public comment for closed session?
No, we do not.
Oh, thank you. So closed session is called at 5:31 to discuss public employee discipline, dismissal, release, negotiations, and conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation.
Okay, I think we're all here. We can start anytime.
Okay. The regular board meeting of Romoland School District reconvenes at 6:29 PM. Manny, was there any action in closed session?
No action taken.
Okay, we're all going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll start it now. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to review the governance norms. We agree to act with dignity, respect differences, build trust, work as a team, engage the public, focus on the success of every student, and work together for the common good. A governing board of trustee reports. Mr. Aguirre, anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Mrs. Kleitz?
I want to just give a big shout out to all of our staff for the back to school nights that they held in such unusual circumstances. And from all reports, they went over very well. So we're, very glad to hear about that. And a big shout out to our parents and our students of our district for doing the best that they can do in these times and having the patience and perseverance.
I so agree. Mr. Reller?
Yes, just a report to the board that I volunteered to be a validator for the Golden Bell Awards. I'll be doing a validation visit on September 14th. I think that's Monday, and reporting that back to CSBA for the awards during the annual conference.
Thank you. Mr. Sperry?
No reports.
And myself, I just want to also reiterate what Mrs. Kite says, for the perseverance of all the teachers, staff, parents, and our students. It is very trying. We thank you for your understanding, being open-minded and embracing what we need to go through. But please know that the number one goal is that your student is successful. We're going to move on to the superintendent's report. Trevor?
Thank you, Ms. Moon. So a couple of comments tonight. Governor Newsom unveiled in late August the California Blueprint for the Safer Economy, which has a lot to do with how businesses open in Riverside County or across the state, really. But it's really designed to open up sectors of our economy as the COVID cases decline. And it can also have the opposite effect, meaning that if COVID cases start to increase, it actually closes sectors back down again. And one of the metrics that will prevent schools from opening on a large scale in-person basis is that if you're in the widespread category, which is the most restrictive category in his blueprint, and that gets updated weekly on Tuesdays. So earlier today it was updated, and Riverside County is still in the widespread category. And so we won't receive another update for a week on that. What I will tell you is internally, as information and guidance changes throughout this process from March until today, we have continually prepared for reopening and hope to do so when it's safe for kids to do so. We don't have a time frame yet on when that is, but we are behind the scenes doing the work to do that in a safe manner when that time does present itself to our district. The other thing I wanted to take the opportunity to thank our school counselors, our school site community liaisons, and Madison Areola, our communications coordinator. They really have developed and are advertising Spirit Week themes throughout our district. They are consistent across school sites. It's an effort to try to maintain some sense of normalcy for our students with their Spirit Days and maintain that connection to school in a positive, fun way. They've done a great job. Last Friday was Disney Day, And so students and parents were submitting pictures, and staff, by the way, pictures in their Disney attire, which was great to see a lot of smiling faces. And also then this Friday is actually Patriots Day coming up, where we honor the memories of those lost in the September 11th attack. So a lot of our students and staff will be wearing red, white, and blue this Friday. So our counselors were great and working with our school site liaisons to communicate that out. And I very much appreciate their efforts. And that's it for tonight.
Thank you, Trevor. And the board also wants to recognize all the work that you and the cabinet have been putting in, trying to make sure that everything's ready for when we are able to come back to school, which is what we all are looking forward to. What we're next moving on to recognitions and announcements. And Trevor's going to recognize all our student recognitions this month for the September.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moon. So this again goes to trying to keep our normal routines in place as much as possible. The highlight of every board meeting is our recognition of students of the month. We were unable to bring them in person, but we can put their names up for the month of September. I will read their names and their school just like I normally do, and their principals will follow up and be in contact with them to pick up their trophies and their yard signs. So with that being said, we have Noah Milton, a 5th grader from Boulder Ridge Elementary, and Jeanette Amaya, a 5th grader from Boulder Ridge Elementary. Ignacio Torres, a 1st grader from Harvest Valley. And Nathan Rodriguez, 3rd grader from Harvest Valley. Nixon Harris, TK student from Mesa View Elementary. Margaret Downs, a 2nd grader from Mesa View Elementary. Fabian Collin, 2nd grader from Romoland Elementary. Nico Candelaria, 3rd grader from Romoland Elementary. And at our middle school, we have 7th grader Demi Rodriguez and 8th grader Othniel, the last name is going to get me, Quadio. So we appreciate these students' efforts and love the fact that we're able to recognize them tonight in our board meeting. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Trevor. We're going to move on now to communications, public comments, and association reports. Nikki, do we have any public comments?
No, we do not.
All righty. Now is employee association reports. Mr. Murray, do we have any association reports?
Not this evening.
Okay. We're going to move on to the notice of public hearing. We have K1 2020-2021 Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan. This is the time and place set for a duly noticed public hearing regarding the 2020-21 Romoland School District Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan. I declare this public hearing open. At this time, the Board of Trustees will receive comments on the 2020-2021 Romoland School District Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan. Were there any members of the public who submitted comments regarding this matter, Nikki?
No, there were not.
Seeing no further speakers, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. K2, pupil textbooks and instructional materials sufficiency compliance for fiscal year 2020-21. This is a time and place set for the duly noticed public hearing regarding the pupil textbooks and instructional materials sufficiency compliance for fiscal year 2020-2021. I declare this public hearing open. At this time, the Board of Trustees will receive comments on the pupil textbooks and instructional materials compliance for fiscal year 2021. Were there any members of the public who submitted comments regarding to this matter, Nikki?
No, there were not.
Seeing no further speakers, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. Informational items, L1, learning continuity and attendance plan for 2020-21 presentation. Ms. Wise will introduce this item.
Good evening, Board President Moon, Board of Trustees, Cabinet members. I'm joined tonight by the Director of Educational Services, Michelle Giroux, Director of Pupil Services, Carmen Cass, and Director of Nutritional Services, Juan Valencia. They will be presenting with me during this presentation about the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan 2020-21. The background about this plan, first of all, is to know that this plan is a result of COVID-19 and our response as a district to offering our instructional models for 2020-21 per Senate Bill 98. This is not a local control and accountability plan. This is absolutely in lieu of that plan. A regular LCAP, local control and accountability plan, is a 3-year plan. This is a learning continuity and attendance plan, same acronym, different name. And this is a 1-year plan all about COVID-19. And we have tonight's board meeting where there was the public hearing, and there will be another board meeting in September where the plan adoption will be on the board agenda. As Mr. Payton mentioned earlier, our state recently released the blueprint for a safer economy with 4 different color levels, if you will, for rating counties across the state of California and their ability to open and the gradual repopulation, if you will, of businesses based on COVID data. You see our learning models at the lower portion of this slide. And you'll see that there are colors similar to the blueprint for the safer economy. The colors gradually move through the arrows. We are currently in the virtual learning model in response to being in the purple zone as a county of widespread COVID-19 activity. So we have virtual learning model for all our students in all our schools. The state recently released guidance about the gradual repopulation of schools in terms of one-to-one in-person assessment of students for psychoeducational assessment, and also small group in-person instruction on school campuses. And that falls toward the red purplish pointed area of virtual learning model, and then into the hybrid learning model, which would be like a next phase for the gradual repopulation of our schools, with the end goal being traditional learning model. In development of our learning continuity and attendance plan over the many months since we've been engaged with COVID-19, there have been multiple opportunities for stakeholder engagement. We have surveyed parents and guardians, kept them informed of all our work, developing the instructional models. We've had committee work in terms of our school opening and instructional planning committee, safety committee, budget committee. Staff have been surveyed and asked for their teaching model preferences. There's been a collaborative process with the bargaining units, RTA and CSEA. District leadership team meets weekly. We've even had focus teams for mental health services, tutoring for learning loss, addressing learning loss for our students, and Nearpod is an instructional resource. And our district advisory committee and district English learner advisory committee met and gave input onto the plan we're about to share with you. And of course, we had the school board public hearing on tonight's agenda. So all the stakeholder input informed the elements of the plan. And one of the first elements we are to address in this plan is in-person instructional offerings. You'll hear later about our virtual offerings, how we'll address student learning loss, how we'll address mental health and social emotional learning for our students, pupil engagement strategies, and nutrition services, how the students are being fed. For in-person instructional offerings, those are offered through our traditional model and hybrid model on campus days. We plan to keep students safe by having modified bell schedules and different entrance exit plans, recess and break plans to keep students safely in cohorts. And we have a lot of health and safety planning and materials we've invested in. for sanitizing, custodial support, our supplies, our hand sanitizer, our PPE, masks, shield, gloves, plexiglass dividers, increased instructional materials so students don't have to share crayons or markers, but they can have their own set at their desk. And then, of course, employee symptom screening and tracking. So planning for in-person instructional offerings, we do the academic part well, and that's well established. The COVID-19 pivot is to really plan for all the safety elements of having students and staff back on our campuses. And now Ms. Giroux will share a few slides.
Good evening, board members. I'll be discussing our distance learning program this evening and also pupil learning loss. So with distance learning, that's what we're currently in. We're currently in a virtual learning model. And as we transition through our reopening phases, we will transition into a hybrid model where we will have half of the time in a virtual learning platform and half of the time in person in classroom learning. Students are receiving synchronous and asynchronous learning daily, and they also have daily access to their teacher via office hours. Our learning management system is Google Classroom, and that's the platform that we're using to push out all of our learning and all of our lessons, and also the daily office hours that the students and teachers engage in. In late July and early August, all of our staff were invited to participate in a virtual learning professional development. And that was a 5-part webinar progression, which I shared at an earlier board meeting. And then some investments that the district has made in order to ensure that our virtual learning is successful is that we've increased our Chromebooks for a 1-to-1 ratio in all grade levels. We've also increased our purchase of Wi-Fi hotspots and the purchase of Nearpod, which is a student engagement platform, which also houses online curriculum lessons for grades K through 8. And recently we purchased Push Play, which is elementary standardized PE lessons for our PE teachers. In order to address pupil learning loss, we're still currently following our academic multi-tier system of support. And thank you to the board for their investment into our PLCs, and especially giving that time to our teachers and administrators so that they can look over and review current student data and determine interventions that need to take place within the learning each day with students. We recently did a demo of FEV tutoring, which is an online tutoring service. And we are looking to purchase those online tutoring hours. And what that will provide for our students and families is not only 24/7 homework help, but also access to scheduling online tutoring sessions for students so that they can have a one-on-one tutoring session. And that company really strives to connect the same tutor with the same student or family over a period of time whenever they need that assistance. During office hours, teachers are encouraged with small groups and also to do one-on-one support. And then also they have teacher office hours where students can just pop in and ask questions if they need assistance. In the summer of 2020, we had approximately 400 students participate in our virtual summer learning program. And we also recently had instructional assistant professional development for our instructional aides that are helping and assisting in classrooms, currently virtual classrooms. And then our expanded learning program is taking place at Harvest Valley and Romoland, and they did their enrollment all online through our district website, and they are doing a virtual program right now for our students.
Good evening, board members. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting and sharing on mental health and pupil engagement and outreach. When it comes to the mental health and social emotional well-being of students, the implementation of the social emotional and behavioral MTSS is being utilized. Our full-time school counselors at each school site support students through Google Classrooms, office hours, and providing parents and guardians with resources. Our school counselors also continue to provide monthly classroom lessons virtually and small group and personalized one-on-one counseling supports at this time. Our mental health specialists are also continuing to provide one-on-one services to students virtually. And our 4 school psychologists are actively supporting students to be successful academically, socially, behaviorally, and emotionally during this time as well. Our mental health committee utilizes our risk assessment protocols and suicide prevention strategies to best support students with navigating through traumatic stress. And our mental health team members are excited for the opportunity to partner with Care Solace to make it easier for our students and their families to connect with mental health care resources and providers in their community. And this is regardless of their insurance status. Of course, none of this would be possible without the vision and strong commitment from our board to supporting the mental health and well-being of our students and community. I'd like to personally say thank you for your support in ensuring that we're developing the whole child, especially during this time. Moving on to pupil engagement and outreach, our school sites continue to utilize our attendance MTSS to ensure student engagement at this time, and they hit the school year running to ensure that we were able to connect with all of our students. Each school site has developed a student engagement and re-engagement action plan, and they have outreach and engagement teams that ensure that those strategies are being implemented. Engagement strategies also include spirit days, social emotional learning activities, communication platforms, and monitoring with Little Sis, Clever Analytics, and Aries. Re-engagement also includes personalized outreach and support, home visits, counselor and mental health referrals are also examples of strategies that are put into place at this time, and just constant reassuring that students are connected and engaged in daily learning activities. Our outreach support for our foster care and homeless youth is continuous during this time as well. And there's a proactive intervention strategy and support system at school sites to identify students that are chronic absentee and any families that might be in need of some targeted focuses at this time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just wanted to give you a small backstory on the slide. On August 31st, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, announced that they will be extending several flexibilities. That includes the summer meal model that we had done during the summer, which is great importance for not only our students, but for our community as a whole. Our department will be providing meal services 5 days per week from 12 to 2. At all 4 of our elementary school sites, 4 meals per day. So that consists of the weekday meals of free breakfast, free snack, free lunch, and free supper for all children under the ages of 18. Weekend meals will also be provided by us on Fridays. That will give them a free breakfast and free lunch for Saturday and Sunday. The children do not need to be present for the meal pickup, and we'll be providing those meals via curbside pickup with staff wearing proper PPE and physical distancing. We also have meal services available in all 3 models to be ready for traditional, hybrid, and of course the virtual that we're doing now.
Thank you to Ms. Giroux, Ms. Cass, and Mr. Valencia for sharing that information. I think that nutrition services slide is very exciting with 4 free meals per day for our students or the youth under age 18 in our community. And even weekend meal service of 2 meals on each weekend day. To share the highlights of the increased or improved services in the learning continuity and attendance plan, it's that summer virtual learning program we offered that Ms. Giroux shared that was offered to all students in all grade levels this past summer to participate in that program, and 400 students were participating. And we increased the technology devices 1-to-1 because we had 3-to-1 in grades K through 2. So we increased our devices to ensure all students have access to a district issued technology device. Also increased our Wi-Fi hotspots. We have hundreds of hotspots now to be able to ensure connectivity for our students. We added the Nearpod instructional resource, very beneficial for the online learning platform, the virtual platform. The addition of the virtual tutoring service that all students in the district will have access to. The addition of Care Solace service, as Ms. Cass mentioned, for mental health specialists and medical referrals. Though we have full-time counselors and 2 full-time mental health therapists, sometimes our students need additional service such as seeing a psychiatrist, a medical professional, and Care Solace will help connect families to different medical professionals and specialists, regardless of their insurance, as Ms. Cass said. And then, of course, we've done a vast investment in safety and sanitation equipment and PPE to prepare our schools to be repopulated again. And at this time, we welcome any questions you might have.
Michelle, I had a question. There was a few parents that were confused on the free meals. I believe some said they were required ID, others said they didn't. And then there was instances that then the family was charged. I know there's always little kinks to work out. Were those kinks worked out, or do families, at least, do they need to show ID, or what are the guidelines?
I'll let Mr. Valencia speak to that, but I will say there was a recent change. So,
okay.
Mr. Valencia, could you explain that change that recently occurred?
Yes, it was recently just approved for us to be able to utilize the summer meal program model. So before we had to move back to the semi-traditional where we had to do only our students. And if they weren't eligible for the qualification of free reduced, then they had to pay the $275 that we have currently. But since we adopted this model, now they can go free from now going forward, and they do not have to use their ID cards anymore.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Great service for our community.
And that was a recent state and federal change, correct?
Yes.
Juan? Yes.
I have 3 things, and Mrs. Weiss, you can direct it to whoever you want to direct it to. First of all, wow. Okay, I have to say, I personally am really proud of what you all have been doing and how you've increased our services and just all the programs that you've offered our kids during this time, and you're trying to maintain the normalcy. And I'm thoroughly impressed, number one. Number 2 is you spoke of teacher office hours. Now, I did notice the principal office hours, and I know when those are at. When are the teachers' office hours, or does that vary from grade level to grade level, or can you explain that?
In general, our schedule for the live virtual instruction is approximately 8 a.m. to noon across our schools, and then there's lunchtime, and then the teacher virtual office hours are in general like 12:30 to 2:30.
Okay.
So we try to keep it consistent, and that really helps too in terms of the meal service being offered from 12 to 2, so it doesn't interfere with the live instruction.
Excellent, excellent. The other thing was the pupil engagement and outreach. Okay, so can you explain how our district is not or is handling home visits? I personally, even though I was a counselor who did home visits a lot during this time, I find it not okay, but I don't know. What are we doing home visits? And if we are, how are we helping to protect our staff that are doing them?
Yes, there are some staff in terms of our site administrators engaging in home visits to really find families that hadn't, reported in the initial weeks. They do so with PPE and distancing Of course.
All right, just kind of keep an eye on that. It's kind of scary.
Absolutely.
I happen to know a counselor in San Bernardino that was doing home visits and caught COVID. So that just scared me.
Of
But
course.
let's see, come to find out, it was from her aunt. So it didn't come from home visits. And then the third thing is Mr. Valencia, I want to thank you for the nutritional services offering throughout all of our district. I just thank you. And I think I'm just happy. That's all.
You're welcome.
Thank you for letting us present to you this evening.
Okay, it's my turn. So Care Solace, good call. Have had very, very good luck, very responsive to our to the needs of the community. Second comment, connectivity. I understand that we have hotspots out there that are unlimited data. Are all of our hotspots unlimited, or are we moving towards upgrading those to unlimited? Because the 10 gigs, that's about 2 weeks of regular Google Meets and it's done. And one video, it's pretty much all done. So where are we at with unlimited data for all of our hotspots?
I'll jump in on that one. We do have a mix currently. We have Verizon hotspots that we're currently deploying, which have an unlimited data plan, which is a piggyback off of an LAUSD agreement that has been made available for other districts in the state to utilize. And those hotspots are basically good with that data plan through the end of this school year. We also have Sprint hotspots that are out in the field, so to speak. And these are the hotspots that we had acquired previous to the beginning of the school year, which we used previously through our summer school programs and whatnot. And we acquired those through through Sprint through the federal ConnectEd program. So those ones do have a data cap on them. The way that works is, it was originally a 3 gig data cap, but ConnectEd increased that to a 20 gig data cap during at the start of the school closures back in March. And so those ones basically will have a 20 gig data cap over the course of a monthly billing cycle. I put that in quotes because we don't pay for service on those hotspots, but they still operate on that cycle. And so once they hit that cap, they throttle down to run at a slower speed until the start of the new cycle. So we have seen that the Sprint hotspots don't have good service in many of our housing areas. So we're currently utilizing both because we also recognize that there may be areas that don't have good Verizon coverage, but may have good Sprint coverage. So we have both. We've purchased 400 of the Verizon hotspots, plus we have another 200 on the way. So that's enough for us to replace all of our existing Sprint hotspots, as well as have a significant additional increase to provide for our students' needs for this year. But we still have the Sprint hotspots available. So even though they do have that data cap on them, we still have them available if they would provide a better, a more reliable service to some of our homes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, then we're going to move on to L2, Romoland Personalized Learning Action Plan 2020 to 2023. And that's Mr. Butler.
Hey, I'm back already. So I'm very pleased to be able to share this with you. This has been a project that has been in the works for quite some time. This is our first ever personalized learning action plan, AKA Romoland's Future Ready Plan. This is, if you've taken a look at it, it's not intended to be a weighty 60-page doorstop of a document, the way that old traditional tech plans kind of were, the type of tech plan that you would create as a compliance issue and then never really look at again until it came time to do it again in 3 years. This is really referred to in Future Ready's parlance as more of a roadmap. It's a very lean, to the point document that's really just intended to be kind of a reference guide, just really lightweight, to the point, focused, and something that can be made available to all of our staff to be able to reference in the work that they're doing on a daily basis to help them be focused in the direction of personalized learning for our students. So to begin, let's kind of start with a quick recap of how we got here. Over the last 6 years, we've laid a solid foundation with our classroom technology standard in our schools, but technology's existence in our classrooms is not a panacea. It doesn't automatically improve the quality of our educational program. On its own, it's limited, but when it's paired with quality teaching, technology is a powerful accelerator for learning. And so this roadmap is really intended to guide our next steps as the district on that journey so that we are continuing to improve in all of our areas with technology being a support for that in order to continue to improve our instructional program for our students. Hang on. There we go. So you may recall that we utilized the Future Ready framework as our process for creating this, this document. This is a tool that helps districts develop a structure for digital learning, visioning, planning, and implementation that focuses on personalized student learning as its core focus. And as you'll see on this diagram here, surrounding that core, there are 7 key areas that impact that student learning, which are called gears. And then you'll also notice around the edge there that this framework is an ongoing cycle where we're reviewing our practices, identifying areas of improvement, and at the end of this cycle, we're assessing how we've done and then doing it all over again so that we're continuing to improve. Now, it's not about making drastic changes, short-term changes. It's about making iterative, consistent improvements over time so that you're constantly moving forward and not setting unattainable goals for yourself. So the one thing that we keyed in on right off the bat was that personalized learning is somewhat of a subjective term. Different districts, different individuals, all had their own idea of what personalized learning was. So the first thing we wanted to do as we were creating this plan was define what personalized learning was here in Romoland so that everybody would be on the same page as we worked through this process. So I'm just going to read that to you. Here at Romoland School District, personalized student learning is defined as student-centered learning experiences intentionally designed by educators to achieve student mastery of instructional outcomes, utilizing delivery methods and tools that honor individual student needs, voice, choice, and learning time. And that was kind of our key focus as we worked through this whole process. We put together groups for each gear at the beginning of last school year, and each of those groups was really focused on this specific goals and actions that we wanted to focus on over the 3-year duration of this roadmap, and determine what those specific areas of improvement needed to be. And they also created a mission statement for each of those gears. And at the beginning of every meeting, we referred back to this definition as a group, just to make sure we all had that in mind, that that was our focus and that was what we were working towards. Now, ultimately, this is a document that's supporting our LCAP and the goals set forth in that document. Our original plan was actually to use this personalized learning action plan as the center point of an LCAP meeting last year to inform a discussion around our student-centered learning and that all the goals would be aligned to our LCAP goals. But as you know, things didn't really go according to plan last year. And so our LCAP was not really a normal LCAP this year. But thankfully, the work that went into creating this plan was very valuable in helping us to adapt quickly to this unexpected situation. And we will have it when we revisit our more traditional LCAP process. So now we're going to take a quick look at each of the gears and just kind of a quick touch on each of the key areas that the action plan is focusing on for each gear. So the first is curriculum instruction and assessment. That's, in a nutshell, our instructional program. And so the action points here was to focus on improving student voice and choice within the classroom, updating our units of study for cross-curricular connections where possible, as well as to better leverage technology in our lessons, and then of course to have multiple assessment types to inform our instruction, which is something that we have been doing for many years, but to continue to refine that process so that we are making data-driven decisions. The next gear is use of space and time. This is how we are using our limited time with students to get the best effect. So the things that the group wanted to focus on here was having school schedules that are promoting the optimal use of instructional time. You can probably see how this was definitely something that was very timely considering the schedule work that we had to do for adapting for this year. The next was creating systematic instructional agreements that focus on personalized learning. And then creating a research and development group to look into standards-based grading in our schools. Third gear, robust infrastructure, is one that we felt as a group we've pretty well established in. This is something we've been focusing on for 6 years as we laid that foundation. And that's what this is. It's our technology foundation. It's our classroom technology standard, the tech support that we provide in our schools and whatnot. And so the things we chose to focus on for this year over the next 3 years was to review our student and staff device standards and make revisions where we think we need to do that. To continue to sustain our established device refresh schedule for student and staff devices, as well as to have a technology support needs assessment to determine areas of improvement in our support processes, because we know that we can always improve and do better. And we want to make sure that we're providing the best support we can to our students and to our staff. The fourth gear is the data and privacy gear. So this is how are we safely using and protecting the student and staff data that is entrusted to us. So the core action in this gear was to create a district data privacy committee. It's actually a subcommittee within our safety committees. And some of the things that that committee would be focusing on is to communicate our data security and privacy policies, both to the community as well as to staff, to review our contracts and agreements to ensure that they comply with federal and state regulations, such as AB 1584 here in California, and to establish some ongoing professional learning and or training for our staff who are working with student data on a regular basis so that they understand kind of the do's and don'ts in those areas. The next gear is community partnerships. This is how are we engaging with our community to support our students. The actions here were to expand our community outreach website and resources, such as our newsletter, to create a consistent district and school branding standards, and to strategically utilize that branding to strengthen the positive community identity, which I think is something that we've already been making great strides on in the last few years anyway. The sixth gear is personalized professional learning. So this is in a nutshell, how are we supporting the growth of our teachers and our support staff? So some of the actions that were created for this one were to create a video library of trainings and shared learning experiences that can be made available for our staff to look at on demand and get ideas or whatever. To highlight innovators and early adopters within our district or from other model systems available outside of our district, and to bring attention to those. And also to revise our feedback tools to reflect that personalized learning focus. And then the final gear, budget and resources, right? This is what we need to make it all happen. How are we providing these necessary resources? This really comes back to LCAP. You know, that's something that has been heavily utilized in order to support not only our classroom technology standard, but also the many different educational resources that we're using to support our instructional program. And so it would be to continue to use that funding to sustain those items, as well as to continue utilizing the federal E-rate program to support ongoing modernization of our network infrastructure in our schools, according to the schedule laid out in our facilities master plan. And so what are our next steps from here? Well, as I mentioned earlier, this is really intended to be like a reference document. So it's something to be distributed to our schools, to departments, to our working groups, who can then use this action plan as a guide to focus their work, the work that they're doing already anyway, but just to help make sure that the work that they're doing is aligning with these goals and actions to ultimately strengthen that focus on personalized student learning. To share this document the next time we are going through our LCAT process to inform those discussions and those decisions. And then, of course, as I said at the very beginning, in a few years, we'll take stock on the improvements that we've made, where we may have fallen short, and then start that cycle all over again. So we're constantly improving and growing. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I just have one. Vince, you spoke about a community letter. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That was in the community partnerships here, I believe. So we this is some things that we've talked about with Madison here, is to we already have some website resources to continue to expand that to connect people in our community with resources that might be helpful to them, as well as to develop a community newsletter that we can distribute through. I think currently we're using Constant Contact as a means to distribute that to the community, and to basically have multiple modalities of sharing not only the things that we're doing, but just things in our area that could be beneficial to the community, and give them different ways to get that information.
Okay, thank you.
Those newsletters were very helpful, Vince, because a lot of parents then took them. I don't know how you sent it to them, but then they were sharing that on social media for other parents. So I got to look at them both real closely, and they had a lot of helpful resources for students and parents, which we all appreciate. So that was really terrific.
Well, thank you. I will be sure to share that with Madison. That is her baby, and she has worked very hard on making that be a useful resource, just not only to staff, but to our families as well. So she'll be excited to hear that feedback.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Vince.
questions?
Yes, I have just one comment about the curriculum section. One of the things that I believe it's very important for us as educators to do is to educate our kids in multiple perspectives, to have them be able to make their own decisions in life. And one of the things I want us to keep thinking about in the back of our minds is when we're developing our curriculum frameworks, our statements about curriculum, is that it's important for our kids to not only learn about the perspectives that might come to them naturally through textbooks, through the internet, through their teacher. We have to think about other perspectives as well, so kids get a balanced understanding of people's understanding of different content or different subjects. So I think I just want to make sure we continue to think about that in the back of our mind, about multiple perspectives. What I believe in and is maybe different than what somebody else believes in. But if we teach our kids to critically think and to understand that people have multiple perspectives, kids, when they get older, can make their own decisions for themselves.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? Okay, we're going to move next to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are approved in one motion. Do any board members have comments or questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
A motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, Mr. Gary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry, sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, David, Mr.
No,
Sperry.
you're not. No, aye. It's okay.
And Debbie, aye. Okay, we're moving on now to action items. N1, resolution number 5, 2020-21, pupil textbooks and instructional materials, sufficiency compliance for fiscal year 2020-21. Ms. Weiss to explain this item.
Resolution number 5 is our annual resolution where we state at this board meeting every year in September that we have sufficient pupil textbooks and instructional materials.
Thank you. Do any board members have comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor, Mr. Geary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry, and Ms. Moon, aye. Number 2, resolution number 6, 2020-21. Does anybody hear echoing?
Yes, I do.
What causes that, Vince?
Just make sure everyone's muted if you're not speaking, I would recommend.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now that I just heard the last thing you said, I did not hear that echo. So I think we're good now.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, resolution number 6, 2020-21. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Romoland School District acting as the legislative body of Community Facilities District number 2004-1 of the Romoland School District, Heritage Lakes, authorizing the issuance of special tax bonds for improving area number 4 in an aggregate principal amount not to $23 million and approving certain amounts and taking certain other actions in connection therewith. Ms. Cole, to explain this item.
Sure. So this resolution authorizes the issuance of bonds for improvement area 4 of CFD 2004-1. And these bonds are primarily going to be used for public facilities projects. A small portion of the bonds will be used to pay off a school site acquisition note number 1.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Do any board members have comments or questions?
What site was that for?
That's for improvement area 4 of CFD 2004-1.
What school site are we paying off?
I'm sorry, that is a Mesa View. I apologize.
That's okay. Thank
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor, Mr. Geary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and I, Ms. Moon. Number 3, request approval to file notices of completion for Silver Creek and Cornerstone construction services. Ms. Cole, to explain this item.
Yes, these were our 2 primary vendors when we did the district office expansion. They have completed all the things that are required and that we asked of them. So now it's time to file notices of completion on behalf of both of these companies.
Thank you. Do any board members have any comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
A motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor, Mr. Geary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and I for Ms. Moon. Number 4, 2019-2020 unaudited actual financial report. Ms. Cole, to explain this item.
Sure. So when we presented the 2020-21 2021 budget to the board for approval, we had to estimate how our 1920 year would actually end, because that gives us our beginning balances for the budget year. Now the books have actually been closed for the 1920 year. So now we present to you the unaudited actuals financial report for 1920.
Thank you, Carol. Do any board members have comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor, Mr. Gary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and I for Ms. Moon. In 5, resolution number 7, 2020-21, GAN spending limit. Ms. Cole to explain this item.
So this is an annual requirement. It's actually required by Ed Code that we present to the board, again, resolution for spending limits, and adoption of this resolution complies with Ed Code.
Thank you. Do any board members have comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor, Mr. Gary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and Ms. Moon, aye. Number 6, resolution number 8, 2020-21, Red Ribbon Week. Ms. Wise to explain this item.
Resolution number 8 is for us to declare that Romoland School District will observe Red Ribbon Week during October 23rd to 31st, 2020. And the theme for this year is Be Happy, Be Brave, Be Drug Free.
That's great. I know, I think I sounded like Roger Rabbit. Do any board members have any comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, Mr. Gary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and Ms. Moon, aye. In 7, resolution number 9, 2020-21, Bullying Awareness Month, Unity Day. Ms. Weiss to explain this item.
It's Bullying Prevention Awareness Month. So this resolution number 9 will declare that October is National Bullying Prevention Awareness Month, and October 21st specifically to be recognized as Unity Day, the day on which we wear orange in support of, anti-bullying and being united.
Terrific. Do any board members have comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, Mr. Gary,
Aye.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and Ms. Moon, aye. And let's see, informational items 2. This is the first reading board policy updates for May 2020. Mr. Payton to explain this item.
Thank you, Ms. Moon. These are just presented tonight as our first reading for board policy updates as recommended by district personnel. We've had our cabinet members go through and vet them, and we received these from the California School Boards Association to make sure we're in compliance with updated laws and legalities and things of that nature.
Thank you. Okay, we are at board member closing comments. Mr. Gary, any closing comments?
I got nothing.
Mrs. Kleitz, any closing comments?
Just a word of encouragement to our staff and our students and our parents. Hang in there. We'll get through this. You're probably working harder than you've ever worked in your entire life as an educator, and parents, I gotta put my hands out to you. But we will get through this. So just hang in there and hang tough.
Well said. Mr. Reller, any closing comments?
I'm good with what Ms. Clyde said.
Mr. Sperry, any closing comments?
No comments?
And I'm gonna, I'm agree with Mrs. Kleitz. She said it perfectly. That is the ending of our board. Our regular board meeting is adjourned at 7:29.